Hello, everybody, and we have some interesting StormGate news today. So, EGC, or Elite Gaming Channel, known for doing Age of Empires 4 and other such tournaments, has finally announced the rule set that they'll be using and have given out the links necessary for signing up for the EGC StormGate 10K Open, who is going to happen from the 10th to the 11th, and then a second weekend from the 7th to the 18th. Now, if you want to sign up, you can go to the description box below, go to the links, and it's fairly simple to go ahead and follow those pages. I would highly encourage you instead to go to their official Discord. If you go to the EGC Discord, there is a section there called, and I'm looking at it right now, EGC TAC StormGate Stack Open TAC Information. And it is a 2-page post locked to everybody else that has links such as the sign up and the handbook and Twitter for updates, key dates, and a nice infographic that displays all of the information. Now, that's wonderful and everything, and we're going to go over on stream later some of the things that are in the rulebook, some questions about how the format is best of ones, best of threes, what's the impact of your rank on ladder. This video isn't for that purpose. This video is for a different purpose. See, as soon as all of these links were spawned, or as soon as all this information was disseminated about 7 a.m. morning time where I live, there were a ton of questions that were engendered, and these were asked in the EGC TAC StormGate TAC Open Questions channel, just below the EGC StormGate Open Information channel. Now, I could ask you to just go read all of that. We could wait for a Q&A from EGC where they go into these items, but I figured I would calculate all of those things, gather the information myself, and then disseminate it. Note that I am not doing this because I work for EGC. I am not in any way affiliated with them. I am just another person who is trying to get into the StormGate 10K Open and is excited for StormGate to be NDA lifted and beta available from February 5th to February 12th. And I like tournaments, so I signed up. Now, here's a couple of questions that people had. I'm going to be going over it. If you see my eyes flit back over somewhere, it's because I'm looking at a screen. So the first thing is, someone made the point, the map pool size is only 4 items, but the rules say that it's 5 items. Now, the PDF for that has been updated, but in case you want to know, Ahmad responded and said that's being fixed. And at the current time, the PDF shows the following 4 maps. Broken Crown, probably Broken Crown Hinterlands, Jagged Maw, Secluded Grove, and Titan's Causeway. And they have some information in the rulebooks about why those maps are important and why you would like to care about them, but that'll be for a different video. There was another topic that was fairly popular, that was we need a ladder reset. The point of it was this. If you don't know, 4 of the 16 spots that'll take people to the final day are going to be decided by ladder qualification. So if you are at the top 4 of the ladder, you don't have to enter in the first weekend at all. You just go right on through. Now obviously this means that being on the ladder is a massive advantage. And the reason that a ladder reset was brought up was, isn't it a bit isn't it a bit unfair that people already have access to the beta, can go and update themselves through the ladder? They can get these points in this MMR. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, head over to StormGate World. You can find them at StormGate World on Twitter. And that's the ladder that is being used for the purposes of calculating who the top 4 players are. Now, I want to note something that some mods and chief members of their community said. The idea is that the ladder ends the 9th, which is the Friday before the open qualifiers. We would like it to reset on the 5th when everyone gets access, but it's beyond our control. This is actively being explored. And in response to another person who phrased the question a little differently, or made a couple of points, such as, the endemic players will have some advantage from being around for a bit while longer. What if you can't play the 150, I believe was the number cited, games that'll get your MMR up to the point that your rank points should indicate, which will put you at the top 4 of the ladder? And another mod responded and said, we are looking into this. If there's a way for a reset, it's definitely preferred by us too, but we do not control this. Now, they're not saying this is all on Frost Giant Studios, but it's all on Frost Giant Studios, given the context of if it's not in charge, if the tournament organizer can't handle it or is not in charge of this, and Stormgate World as a website is only feeding in the ladder information that is being pulled by API from Stormgate, which is owned by Frost Giant Studios, then it suggests that Frost Giant Studios is the entity that would be responsible for changing this. This isn't to say that it won't be changed, but the time for putting out that information is very, very short. Registration is broken was a common thing that was said at about 7:32 a.m. and at about 8:30 a.m. it's been addressed. So if you were one of those early risers trying to get in the first 59 minutes of the links becoming available, you should be able to go ahead and pursue registration. Now, somebody noticed that there is a default limit currently of 512 players in the Stormgate Open, and the limit of 512 players suggests that that might fill up, especially since at the time that I registered a couple of hours ago, keep in mind that this is less than 24 hours, less than even 12 hours, less than even 8 hours after the event came out, there were 106 participants of the 512. This was brought up, and so somebody asked the question, what do we do if that limit is filled? Another moderator stepped in to say, if we fix this and it fills under 24 hours, we will find a way to make it more players, so just keep an eye on it. It's unlikely it will fill 512 this quick. No, that doesn't mean that there's no chance that it will fill the 512 players, just that it seems unlikely that it will happen as quickly as would otherwise be indicated. And so this also implies that if it does go to 512 and hit that limit, they will open up the bracket to 1024. Note that they did not say that explicitly. So there is some wriggle room here if they decide to hard cap it at 512 later, but the implication is that they will expand it as need be. So one person said, I've signed up and I didn't get an email, then some other information about how this is a major deal for them, a big tournament, they're not familiar with this, and that they were stressed. And a mod, I actually am going to use this mod's name because of the personal guarantee that is being used here. You have my guarantee. If you keep an eye on and sign up within 24 hours of being fixed, you'll be in, don't worry. Pesty, P-E-S-T-I. I will note that other mods were very active in answering questions such as, was I logged in appropriately for Steam? Did you get my registration? Did everything go through? And the mods were very quick to respond to those people, each in turn in the EGC channel, and say, yes, we've got you, yes, this is it, etc. So mods are active, and it doesn't look like they're just saying, well, if everything happens, if it doesn't, whatever, 24 hours beforehand, we'll take on the chin, it's fine. No, they seem to be actively looking out to make sure that people are stressed. So if you're experiencing these difficulties, go ahead and add a mod, or just, if not adding a mod directly, bring it up inside of the channel that you're having these difficulties. Now, somebody made the interesting point that could be its own video, but I'll keep it brief, of that this discourages streaming. And so I'm going to go over a little bit what this person said, right? And so basically their argument was, doesn't the fact that only the top 4 ladder spots get a spot into the final weekend, skipping best of ones and best of threes and the grueling tournament days, doesn't that discourage streaming? After all, wouldn't players who are pretty sure that they're in like the top 25 and they could push for more, wouldn't those people just want to avoid streaming, not share their builds, and get out information, keep the information as quiet and as personal as possible? Sorry, I got a bit of a cough today. And so an answer was given, and this is a quote. Issue with people not streaming due to tryhard is likely to be the same with or without ladder spots. Fair enough. Even if it's full open, some people will prefer to play privately so they can keep their strategies and etc. quiet. The spirit of the event is that as a test event, people will stream and have fun, and we hope it's what happens. This is probably also why, instead of maybe 64 to 128 people that are reasonably expected to do well, right, by invitation of a pool, like in a pool of invites, and then getting the people who respond first, they're choosing to do the Stormgate Open. The top pros will be better off from this event even if they come 10th, but 20,000 watch it than if they win it and 2,000 people watch it. The better this does, the more we'll be able to start planning for post-launch. So there is an almost like a quiet threat there that if you're not streaming, if you're keeping everything quiet, if you're not participating in blowing up the event, if you're not emphasizing what you're doing ladder-wise to improve, you're actually going to be hurting the game, and as a consequence, EGC's desire to post more events. Now, maybe I'm reading a little too much into that, or too much more than most people would read into that, but I think that they also make a good point. After all, there are rules that are put down inside of their rule book towards the bottom last couple of pages that talk about rules for streaming. If you want to stream as you're playing, if you want to stream as you're observing, if you want to share in casting or analysis, there are rules for the first weekend that allow you to do that. And so I think that they're trying to get it's open because they want to get as many people playing. They want to open and expand and blow out the floodgates and let the whole river come through, right? And kind of raise the tide for everybody else. Even if there's an implication that that tide and that broken dam might flood some people's houses, or in this metaphor, might make some builds more popular or more known. I will stress that we saw other games in which a very secluded pro scene was encouraged by streaming culture to expand on their understanding and share their insights with other people, and that led to rapid metagame development. This has happened for other RTS games as well, and so I suspect that they're hoping something like that happens for StormGate. Where do you enter for Steam player contact? Like, just use username or the ID and user. Now, there's a portion of signing up through, I believe it's Rally Cry, that is asking you for Steam information. Now, note this is not a direct link to your Steam information. Rather, it is asking for uniquely identifiable Steam information explicitly, and it says on the website, so they can put you better in contact with your opponents and they can get to you if there are any difficulties, right? This is also they want a unique identifier. So they don't want the username, they actually want you to use the ID or your user. And so the answer there was quite simple, just give us your Steam ID profile, please. Now, there were people who were saying, well, that's great and all, I have no idea how to go ahead and get that information. Like, where do I even go to do that? And so here's what we're going to do, right? Let me take a second to bring this up. And here we go. And here we go. Minimize this. Okay. Okay, cool. Listen, it's not perfect, but here you go. So you will see something like this when you are lined up into the program, right? It will ask you for set contact info, and it will say, great, now let's give your future teammates a way to contact you in-game. This is the area where you put your Steam ID information. For those of you who don't know how to do this or what this refers to, I'll get to it very quickly. Essentially, there is an image that has been shared in the EGC TAC StormGate TAC open questions area that tells you, hey, this is what your sign up should look like. I'll just say it verbally over what Choom, Choom, the moderator's name, says. To get your Steam ID, you can follow these steps. 1. Click on your username in the top right corner of the Steam window and select Account Details from the drop-down menu. Your 17-digit Steam ID will appear near the top of the screen right below your username. This is the information they would prefer you use. If you can't see it, then you can right-click on your profile and copy/paste the address of the page. So essentially, they gave you two means. One has 3 steps, the other has 1 step. And because of prioritization, we can tell they would rather you just give the number of your Steam ID, right? I checked these steps myself because I was having the same difficulty. Now, if you experience this, then you might lead into this problem right here, which is when I went through the website, I gave my username, not my Steam ID, not my unique identifying information. And so somebody says, I thought I had to enter my Steam display name. Is there a way to change it after being registered? And the answer is yes. You do not have to deregister your account or remove your account and then re-add yourself or re-register. Instead, now that you have a registered account, go to the bottom left-hand side of the page and click Settings. Once you're in Settings, you'll notice that there are a multitude of game links and profiles that'll be showing up. Things like your Nintendo or your MTG Arena account or your PSN, things of this nature. One of those identifiers is Steam, so go ahead and remove your username and put in the Steam ID information that was requested. You note that there is not a save icon, but it does save your information once you've changed it. I verified this myself by changing from Itano Circus, my Steam name, to my unique identifier, and then I went to a different section of the website, came back into settings, and saw that it had saved that information. Now, another person, one final point that I got up until this is the last one we'll cover for this video, is somebody said, if I don't get to the top of the ladder, what's the point? After all, there are 16 spots, right, that are going to become from the ladder and from Katowice, and then people who are playing in the event itself to get into this second weekend. We'll go over more of that in the rules discussion or the document discussion on stream later tonight. And it says the answer is quite simple. The seeding is based on your ladder rank. So let's imagine you ground your teeth to the dust, right? You crushed every fibrous entity of your body until it just became brittle and flailing like nothingness. And then even your bones were ground down. And after all of that, bleary eyed, you look up at the date of registration when the ladder lock happens on the 9th, and you find to your chagrin, you're fifth. You're not 1 through 4. You didn't get your spot, guaranteed to you. But what you get is a seed, right? So the seed of the Stormgate Open is not random. It depends on your ladder rank as being used and measured by Stormgate World. So if at the time of the ladder lock, when the positions are set in place, if you are fifth, right, you're not one of the top 4, but you are the strongest player who wasn't given a pass over to the second weekend. You are ranked number 1. The example that they give is as follows. If you are number 5 on the ladder, you are the first seed. If you're number 6 on the ladder, you are the second seed, etc., etc., etc. So whatever your ladder rank is, if you're in this event, your seed will be that ladder rank minus 4, right? Again, depending on how many people sign up, obviously, this only works in theory if all 1,000 players, or if all 512 or 256 of literally the strongest players sign up. So you may find it the case that your rank number, I don't know, your rank number 97. It's not that your rank number 9, you're then going to be seeded number 93. It's possible that maybe number 76 just didn't show up today, so your seed is a little bit higher. But this is a clear incentive for you to grind as hard as you can on the ladder. After all, for anyone who's not familiar with this kind of tournament structure, the way that the seeding system works for paring downs, let's take a 256 example, right? Is you're going to be fighting 1 versus 250. All numbers will add up to whatever the number of participants is plus 1 for the initial stage. So if there's 256 participants and you got 5th on the ladder, aka you're the first seed, you will be seed number 1 against seed number 256. And then in the next round, you will be fighting, number 2 would be fighting number 255, and so on and so on. And then as those things break apart more and more and more, that it just gives you an advantage and makes it more likely that you get past best of 1s into the best of 3s and then on to day 2. So there we go. Those are the most common questions that I saw from the Elite Gaming channel Discord about how this works and how this functions. I hope that those answer any of the questions that you may have had or difficulties that you're experiencing. There's going to be a longer stream later tonight in which I talk about the rule book, which I barely touched on here, and I'm going to add the links necessary to get all of this on board and get your own tournament adventure started for the Stormgate Open in the description box below. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you had a great time. I hope you found this informative. I'll see you on stream later tonight. Bye.